everybody. Well, welcome to, I'm calling this a video like special of the Worth Your Time podcast because this is going to go to podcast right after. But anyway, welcome. My name is Erica Anderson. I'm your host. And today I'm joined by my friend Molly Huffman, who is the author of a new book out today. The Moon is Round. Molly, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, well, before I jump into all of my questions, I would love if you could just give people that are watching just a brief rundown of who you are, where you're from, who your family is, and then we'll get into the book and all of that stuff inside of it.
Okay. Well, my name is Molly Huffman. I am originally from the Indianapolis area, and I am the oldest of four girls. And I was a public elementary school teacher for 13 years, and now am an author, which is so exciting. Um, I currently live in Moorhead, Kentucky with my family, and we have two daughters and a son. And let's see, what else can I tell you? And I love popcorn.
Any certain kinds? Do you like the flavored popcorn? Any specific brands?
I do have strict favorites when it comes to popcorn. It needs to be made on the stove
Mm.
in oil with salt. Yeah, oh gosh, it's so good.
That's fun for kids. I've been wanting to do that with my son to like have him watch the popcorn, because
Yes,
they will just think that's the coolest thing.
yes, they do. It's really fun and so delicious too.
Yes, absolutely. So here we are today, the day of your book launch. Tell me, when did you start dreaming about writing this book, and when did it start to become a reality for you?
Well, I've always enjoyed writing, but I never. You don't. Sometimes maybe we don't know that we can do something until someone tells us. And um, so when I was in fifth grade, I got to write our fifth grade graduation speech. So that put the desire to maybe continue writing in my heart. And then after, well, it was about 11 years ago, um, and I began my journey with grief and decided I thought maybe I should write about it at some point. So I thought that I would be, um, you know, coming up with a book or something over a decade ago. But then more things just continued to happen. And so that dream was delayed. And now it seems like it's the right time.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, and for those that are watching, I meant to say this in the beginning. If you leave a comment or share, I'm giving away two copies of the book, two free copies of the book today. So I'll be picking from people who comment. So we do encourage you to give us a like, give us a comment or a share, just because we want to make sure that we get the message about the book out to as many people as possible today. So with that
Thank
being
you. Thank you for
said,
doing that.
yeah, definitely. I'm so excited about it. You asked me to endorse the book, and I was just like totally honored just that I would even be asked for something like that. And I will tell you how dedicated I was, because it's really hard for me to read. I buy like paper copies of books. Like, I'm old school, I need them in hand.
Yes.
That wasn't available. And so I actually read the whole thing on my phone.
I
Um,
can't believe you did that.
Never done it before, never done it before. But as I started to read it, I was just drawn in. I mean, it's one of those things where you can't put it down. You did just, I said in my Amazon review today, I said you just did the story arc so well, where it pulls you along, and makes you want to continue reading and find out what happened. And just the writing is just, it's so well done. So I just, to start us off, like, congratulations on that part, because that's not easy. That's really
Thank
hard
you.
to do.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I did have people help me, like with, what questions are missing, what do we need, to make this a story. So I can't say it was all me.
Well, it was birthed in you, and so you did a great job. Now, if you were going to sum up the message of the book, I mean, I know we're going to get into some details, but how would you describe it to someone that was just interested in checking it out?
I would say It is a story of dealing with our grief over loss. But, loss doesn't have to be, for instance, the death of someone. It can be uh, you move away and you lose a close friendship, and so what I like about this story is that all of us are dealing with loss in our lives, and there's also an element of grieving in this book that I think um, we also all do. And until recently, I would say I didn't do it well because, uh, you know, crying, lamenting, being sad, being angry, those are not the emotions that we tend to lift up all the time. And yet they are genuine emotions and important emotions. And then finally, I would say this book is full of hope um, because we all deal with loss and grief. It's We have this question of what am I supposed to do with it? And so I'm really hoping that as readers finish this book and as they're going through it, that there will be truths and encouragement for them that they can cling to and just find so much hope in for their daily struggles and griefs and losses.
Yeah. And it's like there's always grief and struggle in the world, but particularly right now, worldwide and in our country, there's a lot more of it right now. And so I think it's such a great thing to remind people that even though your experience is one or two particular things, it can really expand across, sort of run the gamut for the kinds of grief that people are experiencing. So I
Yes.
think that's something to remember. Now, the first sort of part of your book deals with losing your mom. And it seems like maybe that was one of the first things that really shook your faith. So tell me about that experience of losing your mom and how you got through that.
Sure. Well, as a kid, my family, there were four daughters, and we were all very close. And I had not experienced suffering really in my life, and my mom was my best friend. I had such dreams for how I was going to um, live life alongside her. Um, and so when her diagnosis became terminal, my world was rocked because um, we'd prayed so hard. I had been what I thought was a good person, and I tried to follow um, God. I tried to do the right thing. And so I didn't understand why God wouldn't heal and save the person that I loved most at the time. And so after her death, it really began a journey of just questioning, doubting faith for the first time in deeper ways, wondering if a God who would allow such pain could actually love me, even though I knew that he was supposed to, or that we were told that he did. And so it was really the first time that I questioned all of this. And it led me also into scripture, where I ended up finding a lot of truth after being someone raised in the church. And I don't know for our listeners today, I know there are a lot of church wounds in the world um, where people did not represent God well. They did not show love. Um, and so I know for a lot of us, sometimes we have to, uh, sort of recover from that maybe. But what I discovered during this time is regardless of places where I'd been hurt or where I'd felt shame in the church, perhaps, um, the God of the Bible is apart from the church as far as he is the one who loves us and draws us in and heals our wounds. And I believe he loves the church. So I know he loves the church and wants to use the church. But getting down to the root of scripture and studying it for myself, really for the first time, I was filled with such hope at those words.
Yeah. And then, the majority, the middle portion of your book is devoted to your son, Paige. Um, Tell us about him. What was he like?
Yes, Tage was a light-haired, blue-eyed, um, chubby-cheeked little boy, and was, in my mind, the fulfillment of everything I ever wanted. Um, and he could not smile and laugh the way that many children can, but his eyes. Anyone who knew him will tell you that his eyes just sparkled.
And there's so much to his story. Could you take us back to the beginning and sort of, you always wanted to be a mom. You found out you were pregnant. You're so excited. Then what happens?
Yes. So I knew from a very young age that my biggest dream was to be a wife and a mother. Um, and like I said before, I really thought God would give me those dreams because I'd been good enough in my eyes. Um, and so when Tage was about 6 months old, um, we got the diagnosis that he had a terminal mitochondrial disease. Um, we were told that babies with this disease do not live to their first birthday. And I can remember, just the room spinning in the hospital that day, realizing that this was now going to be part of my story and dreading what the road ahead looked like. Um, and we were in the hospital for about a week while he got a G tube so that he could eat. We didn't know exactly what the timeline would be. But uh, we took him home after that and got to have him for 2 more excruciating and beautiful months. And I am just still in awe of all the things that I learned through his life. Um, and I still love him tremendously. And that was the absolute hardest thing that I have ever gone through. Yet, um, as what I hope is conveyed in this book is that God did not leave my side for a minute. It was hard, excruciatingly hard, but his presence became more real to me than ever before. And we don't need what God can provide until we need it. If someone does not have a child who's dying today, they don't need the strength to be able to do that. But I believe that God provides what we need when we need it. And he absolutely did that for me during that time.
Can you tell me some examples of how you felt his presence? Because, you know, I to me that just I just envision, the phrase the dark night of the soul.
Yes. Yes.
So how did you
So
feel his presence?
there were many dark nights. I would say some of the most profound ways were through people. Um, the people in our lives would just show their love in various ways, whether it was sending a text or a handwritten note in the mail, bringing food by. Um, I had a group of women who were on a schedule to come be with me during the days when I was home alone with Tage. And they would just sit with me or be in the other room. Some of them would cry with me. Some of them would help me laugh for a minute before they walked out the door. My closest circle of friends really let go of a lot of their own things in their life at the time. Um, left their families in the evenings and whatnot to come and comfort and be with me. Um, and even the online community was just incredible. You think when people are going through hard things, they don't care if I'm there. They don't care if I write this comment, but they do. I mean, it is a brick into the foundation that's going to hold them up. And again, after what I'd learned from losing my mom, scripture became just so powerful and life giving. Music became powerful and life giving, um, and and so one day at a time, we walked that dark path.
And were there things, I mean, I'm sure there were days that it was just hard to even get out of bed. What were there things that you sort of made yourself do to continue on in life?
There were definitely days that were hard to get out of bed. In the beginning, as a parent, you just do it because you have to do it. As the weight of what was coming and the unknown of what was coming, the anxiety began to creep in. And eventually, towards the end of that period of time, I did have to get an antidepressant because I sensed myself not being able to take care of myself or my child. Um, and so, you know, I believe we're starting to change the conversation about antidepressants and depression and anxiety. Um, but it was a brave thing for me at the time to admit I need medication to help me get through this. But
Yeah,
it did.
yeah. I want to focus a second on what you talked about friends being there for you because I think we've all heard this like we don't know what to do when someone's grieving, especially something like this. I mean,
Yes.
you because nothing seems adequate, you know.
Right.
Everything seems like what am I going to do? Make her feel better?
Right.
So you talk in the book about a few friends that did some really extraordinary things for you. Um, so I guess for people that are listening, like you mentioned a few things, but talk a little bit about those things and how important they are.
Sure. So, I think it's important to let ourselves know that we are not going to fix it. Our words are not going to fix it. Our actions are not going to fix it. The point of reaching out is simply to let that person know they are not alone, that you are thinking of them. And so, whatever way you do that adds to the foundation that is holding them up. And sometimes it might be determined on the level of relationship. For instance, if you hear of an acquaintance, you may not go spend your whole afternoon at their house, but you might send something in the mail or send a gift or, um, just something small to um, let them know how it is impacting you. People who would even just tell me, I can't stop thinking about this, Molly. I can't stop praying. That just lets you know again that you're not alone. You're not the only one who's thinking about it. Um, but then, some friends that I worked with, for instance, knew that I loved to run to de stress. And so they sent me a huge gift of running clothes. So that I could do the activity that helped me de-stress. Another friend sent me a new pair of running shoes. People would have a in-home masseuse come for a massage because grief creates so many knots in your body. And um, other people, one of my girlfriends would just rub my shoulders or um, other people would bring food. Some would offer to just come over and take out the trash, mow our grass without being asked, just any of those things. Whatever, whatever comes to your mind, um, more than likely, that is the right thing to do. But just reaching out is so important.
Okay. People are saying they can't hear me, so that's not good. But the important thing is they can hear you talking right now.
Oh, good.
FYI. I'm gonna keep my comments short, but yeah, I think those are all such important things to remember. And you've written up like a blog post. I think that you're gonna make available of some of those ideas, which I think is really good. Now, in the book, you also deal with divorce and betrayal. It seems like as a reader, I'm just going, this isn't fair. You know, how could this be happening? All of these things be happening to this one person. How so this happened after. Paige died, how did you deal then with just another layer of struggle?
So for people, since people can't hear you really well, she was asking about the divorce and betrayal part after all that had happened, and how did I deal with that? Um, again, I think God walks us slowly down the path. He goes before us, and when I was ready is when I discovered that, and I write about that um, in the book. But um, I can hear that, Erica. I don't know if anyone else can.
What are you hearing?
I can hear a click when you're doing that.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if anyone else can.
Let me Can people hear me any better when I talk with the headphones off?
Is it too loud?
Can you hear me okay still, Molly?
I can, yes.
Okay.
I'm
Well,
gonna turn you down with my headphones.
all right. Well, we'll see. We'll see if this helps. But I'm so sorry. I did not mean to interrupt.
Okay.
I didn't
It's
anticipate tech issues. I normally have no problem with this. So did I cut you off on that? I'm sorry.
It's okay. I can keep going if you want.
Okay.
Headphones off.
Okay. Now they can hear me. Okay. 20 minutes in. They can. Okay. Well,
Good. Okay.
nice to meet you, everybody.
I'm going to move because you might hear the feedback from. Oh, you did? Okay, never mind. Sorry, everyone. Okay.
It's live. That's what we do.
It's live and it's real life. Yes.
So prior to this interruption, you were talking about how you dealt with the divorce aspect and then the betrayal and other parts of your life. Just maybe finish that thought and then we can move on.
So, I was saying God, leads us gently down the paths. And so he revealed to me when I was ready. And I think that then allowed me to be in a place where I could receive that information. It was still heartbreaking. And I can also, like later that evening, I remember sort of laughing. Like, are you kidding me, God? You really think I can handle more right now? Like, this is becoming kind of a joke, right?
Mm-hmm.
But again, I thought, okay, here we go. And truth is important. Truth is important to God, and so knowing the truth in that part of my life was healing eventually. And so again, it was one day at a time, and completely with God's help and daily strength and the help of a really, really great counselor who I write about in the book.
Yeah, definitely. What I wanted to ask you earlier was, after, say it's the day after you lost your son, what did a conversation with God look like on that day?
The day after would have been a lot of weeping. It was one of those things where I had prayed for a miracle and held out hope till the very end that God would do a miracle. But a couple days before Tage died, I just got this sense from the Lord that Tage was not going to be healed this side of heaven. But I also got the promise from God that day that he would not waste this pain, that he would do something with it if I would surrender it to him. And so the day after Tage died looked like a lot of crying and then a lot of, help me to trust you, Lord. I don't know if I can, but I want to surrender this to you. But right now I'm just crushed. And when we can pray honestly like that, he meets us right there. And he didn't need anything from me in those moments. I could just speak honestly about all the pain and just sit in it.
Yeah, man,
I don't know. I think there's so many people that can hear this and relate to that on some level. And I hope that thought can help people know, in the future, if this comes, that's something that they can do too. Now, since then, and I'm sorry, what year was that? 2014?
14.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So now here we are 6 years later, and your life looks a lot different. So give us the what happened after that? What happened in your life after that?
So when, let's see, okay, we're having some feedback again. So after Tage died, I took a year. I had maternity leave already. And so during that next year, I got to be home. And I had all this free time, but I knew I didn't want to be in public. And so I just started to read through the Bible for the first time. I'd never done that before. And during that time of being quiet and seeking the Lord, he really began to heal my heart in a lot of ways, and just help guide me that, this is not the end of this story. And a year after Tage died, my husband left and filed for divorce. And so I had to sell our home, which was another really crushing blow to me because I love home. And I had crafted a house that I really enjoyed and had so many memories in, and I didn't want to leave it. But I love the story in the book about how God led me to the apartment that I then lived in for a couple years. And it's just a reminder that God loves to give us good gifts. And I was in that apartment then for a couple of years. And during that time, a friend from that I had fairly recently met, but she asked if I would be willing to meet somebody. And, she tells me he's divorced and has 2 kids and lives in Kentucky. And I just am like, Lord, this is not what I was picturing. I think in my mind, I literally pictured, Tim Tebow is still single, God. Like you could, wouldn't that be a story? Sorry, babe. But anyway, she says, well, he's my high school boyfriend. And I just thought, this is so crazy, but the thing is that she knew him so well and knew his character. And he's a whole lot more handsome than Tim Tebow too. So, but so we met, we started talking online, and it was just, it's a beautiful love story, one that I'd always wanted to experience, but had never. And so about a year after that, I moved to Kentucky just to see what daily life would be like. And after I had been here for a few years, Guy proposed, and we were married in 2017 and live here with our 2 daughters and our 1.5-year-old son.
Oh, that's so great. Yeah, it's so fun to see your family on social media. And, it's interesting. I told you that I had realized I read your blog like years ago when I lived in DC, and just remember your name and your story and how it was so sad to me to read it. And then I didn't really, I think I sort of like didn't read the blog anymore. And then I saw you on Davy Blackburn's podcast and kind of reacquainted with the story, and then saw that your book was coming out. And so it was all sort of full circle. And it was just been really cool to see how that story in some ways has been really redeemed by the life that you have now.
Yes, it really has. It's been so redemptive in all kinds of ways. And the book is the icing on the cake, but really what I treasure most is having learned who God really is and what he says about me, and that his promises are true. I write in the book about some of the idols that I had in my own heart, what I thought would fulfill me, including marriage and children. And I now feel like I can enjoy them even more because I see them as gifts and can just enjoy them, but not be identified by them.
Yeah.
So that's been neat.
So now the book is out, and we encourage, and I'm sorry if the sound is still, I'm hearing that the sound is still giving us issues. So I apologize to everyone watching, but of course we encourage everyone to buy the book. What are your hopes? What was your hope in writing and publishing the book? Do you have a dream for it? Is the dream done now that it's published? What are your thoughts on that?
I felt strongly from the beginning. Well, when God whispered that he would use this story, I wanted to put it out there. And I didn't ever have, a number in mind or anything like that. But for an eternal impact. If people find hope either for the first time or in a new way during their season of pain, that is the currency that matters to me. And so I've also learned to hold my dreams loosely. I can tell God what I think would be great, but I really trust him to do good, to do the best thing. And so I'm just going to give him this book, and whatever he wants to do with it, he can do with it. But I am just honored and grateful for the comments already of just some hope and encouragement that it has offered people.
Yeah. I think I wish that I had a magic wand and I could just make it like magically become a bestseller. But I'm determined to do the most that I can to make that happen. I told you that once I read the book, I really felt like God was calling me to help you push it out there. Not that I am famous by any means, but I just thought I have a little tiny platform, and I know some people. And so I want to let as many people as I know as possible, because I've read some really bad books that that sold really well or were picked up by a huge publishing company. And then I read yours and I thought, I mean, this book needs to be seen by a lot more people than, Molly and I can see it, on our own. But I just hope that people watching and listening and that are part of the launch team, or if you're just catching this out of nowhere, that you will read it, that you will buy extra copies for your friends and family, and that you'll give it copies to your church. I think churches are a great place. Like, you could do studies with it, small groups, that kind of a thing. And so the more that we can spread the word in small ways, I mean, those person-to-person marketing, or what is that called? Oh, I forgot. There's a term for it. But anyway, is actually much more powerful than social media marketing. So if you're talking to a friend and you suggest the book, it's very powerful.
Well, thank you. And Erica, thank you so much for your help. You have been such a blessing this entire process. And I cannot thank you enough.
Yeah. Well, I'm more than happy to do it. And I'm so sad that the sound has been on and off on this interview, but anything nothing's going to stop what God's going to do with the book. So anything else you want to say before we sign off, just about launch day and what you might say to potential readers?
Yes, I think one of the main things is just to let people know this book it's really for everyone. It does not have to be for the people going through grief at the moment or who've had really extreme losses. It is great for those people. But I think it's also good for everyone because there's hope, there's encouragement, there are, people struggling with doubt and questions about faith, which is really all of us. And so I just would appreciate people sharing this book, like you said, person to person, and that it wouldn't just be for the people going through the hard times, but absolutely for them, but for all the other people we love as well.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, I guess it's time to sign off. Thanks so much for watching, everybody, for listening. And
Thank
go buy a
you.
copy of the book on Amazon.
Yes.